Welcome to the reading of Turning 25 on my 52nd birthday. This is a story of my life right after my divorce as I grew into a new woman. Please comment any questions on the video below. I'll get back to them as soon as I can. And thank you so much. Please like and subscribe also. Thanks. This is chapter 1. So here we go. I think I'm going to do chapter 1 and chapter 2. Veronica is a 50-year-old woman who is married and has 2 grown children. She's recently moved back to Denver so that she could be closer to her family. She was married to Jerry, who is 52. They had been married for about 27 years. Veronica's job thought bringing her back to Denver would work out really well since the airport had a hub with a couple different airlines so that she could travel easily to her customer sites. The company that Jerry worked for also had a warehouse in Denver, and they offered him a position. This worked out really well. That way Jerry didn't have to look for a job after the move. Jerry's income was fine, but Veronica was the main source of income. She made about twice what he did, and he didn't really like that. He had a very hard time with Veronica having that much control. This was just over the last few years, though. Prior to that, they made about the same. They purchased a home immediately and had about a week to get things situated before they both had to get back to work. They were moved in, and Veronica worked like a wild woman to get everything unpacked and put into place. There was a neighbor that lived a couple houses down the street that Veronica would chat with on occasion. His name was Rick, and they started to become friends. They both were Bronco fans, and they both were intelligent, and he was just such a nice young man. He was very polite, and which was wonderful for a young man to be so respectful. He was about 18 years younger than her, and he had temporarily moved into this neighborhood. He had just gotten out of a relationship and needed a place to stay while he looked for his own place. Jerry did not seem at all too happy about the move. He did not appear to be happy in his job, and this was a big red flag for Veronica. When he wasn't happy in a job, he would quit. He'd quit many jobs when the kids were small. It seemed he was getting better, but she could feel that this wasn't going to last. He came home one night and asked Veronica what she thought about him quitting his job. She asked him if he could stay till the end of the year. That way they could save up some money. They could live off her salary without a problem, but then there would be no extras. And Veronica did not think that would be too fair. Jerry seemed to be good with the idea about waiting. He didn't say anything otherwise. But one afternoon, less than a week after their conversation, he called Veronica to let her know he quit his job. Not only did he quit his job, he gave no notice. He quit that day and left. When Veronica got home from work, she took a walk. She didn't want to have a yelling match with him. It would do absolutely no good except make her even more frustrated. Rick was sitting on his front porch and saw Veronica walk by. He stopped her. She really didn't want to be stopped. She was fuming. Rick immediately asked her what was wrong. Whoa. And he could see that she wasn't happy. Veronica told him, and as she was telling him the story, she got louder and more frustrated. She wouldn't cry, though. She never cried, but she could get angry. He listened to her vent for about 10 minutes. He didn't say a word except that he thought she should tell Jerry how she felt. Rick then just talked to her about other things to take her mind off it for a while. She really appreciated the fact that she could talk to him so easily. He was young but had such a good heart and was so intelligent. She really did enjoy their talks. She was a little sad. He had just told her that he'd be moving to Fort Collins. It is a medium-sized city that is over an hour drive from where Veronica lived. But she was happy for him. He was going to have a great job and a nice place to live, but it would take him far away from her. She really enjoyed their friendship. They exchanged phone numbers and promised they would keep in touch. Veronica was finishing her walk and thought about how she would miss Rick, but then her mind went right back to Jerry and him quitting his job. She walked for about an hour and a half and then went home. She grabbed a bottle of wine and sat on the back porch. Didn't say a word to him. Chapter 2. Veronica knew she needed to leave Jerry. He was not happy with her and hadn't been for a while. He was home every day not having any luck finding a job, or was he even looking? They did not talk. They did not talk in the evenings. When Veronica got home from work, she took her wine and sat out on the back porch. She could hardly stand being around him anymore. She couldn't figure out a way to tell him that she wanted a divorce. Veronica would text her friend Renee every day saying that she wanted to leave him, that she really needed to talk to him, but she just couldn't. They had a 27-year marriage, and even as unhappy as they both were, it was still hard to finalize it. She was just grabbing onto whatever she could to get through each day. Renee would just listen, not offer a lot of advice, just listen. But it was so nice to have a friend she could count on. Every night she would try to get up the courage to talk to him, and she just couldn't do it. Finally, one day at the office, she sent Jerry a text saying, "We need to talk," and he agreed. When she got home that evening, she did not pour a glass of wine. She sat down in the living room and they began talking. The conversation started with how they both were unhappy, and it turned immediately into a discussion of divorce. Veronica felt that she didn't even want to try to make things work. They both wanted this. They both were unhappy. Jerry decided to move to Atlanta where his parents were. They would put the house on the market and split everything in half. He wanted to move as soon as possible, so that would leave Veronica to handle the sale of the house and the divorce. Of course, there wasn't going to be lawyers. Jerry wouldn't have that, and Veronica just wanted it done. That was nothing new. Jerry always left the hard work to her. It was just par for the course. She wrapped up the sale of the house and the divorce papers all within 30 days. She found a home on the other side of town that she really liked. Her life just took an immediate change. She felt very happy being alone. It was wonderful right now that she was not doing a lot of traveling. This gave her time to settle in. Veronica's attitude and demeanor completely changed. She was immediately a happier person. She knew now that she didn't need a man. She can provide for herself. She can do things around the house. She wasn't even thinking about the sexual side of things because there wasn't any sex life that they had had in so long. She needed to get to know herself first. Jerry was not very complimentary to her. He would not put her down in obvious ways, but would never tell her she was sexy or beautiful. The only compliment she recalls from him is that she looked nice or that the dress was a nice dress. It was never about her. She will find out how much this affected her, but right now she doesn't even see this. Spending time alone began making her realize how much Jerry really did put her down. Little things such as criticizing everything she did. From cooking to doing the dishes, no matter what it was never good enough. She could not have made him happy no matter how hard she tried. It began to make her wonder how any man would ever want to be with her. She felt she was not attractive at all, literally could not imagine how any man would want to have sex with her. She was not proud of her body at all, very ashamed as a matter of fact. She got to the point where she would not want Jerry to even see her without clothes. It was not yet affecting her immensely, but she started to think that she probably would be alone for the rest of her life. This was difficult, but the biggest thing it did was kept her drinking. She was drinking very regularly, at least 3 glasses of wine every evening and sometimes more. What else did she have to do? She was still super happy, but at the same time she felt she had to realize that no one would probably want anything to do with her in an intimate way. Well, that was chapter 1 and 2, and quite honestly, the divorce was pretty easy. I did do all the paperwork, and I did take care of everything, but it got done. Not a lot of arguments in that respect. They were both unhappy for a long time. Veronica was really unhappy, and really, she did not realize the effect he had had on her until, as we find out in the book, how much his criticisms really did affect her and how she saw herself, or how she figured men saw her as well. So when she first met Rick, it was just a little friendship, and during this time he was a great person to have around, and she didn't see him a lot, but she saw him a few times during this whole discussion before he moved. But we'll get on with the book and talk more about it, and thank you again.